Grainy security footage time-stamped 9:15 p.m. A lone figure, later identified as Sarah Williams, strolled into view. She was humming, lost in her own world, earbuds firmly in place. The streetlight above flickered, casting an unsettling strobe effect on the empty sidewalk. Sarah, a young woman with her whole life ahead of her, was just a few blocks from home. She had opted for the shortcut through the park, a decision she would tragically come to regret. Unbeknownst to her, danger lurked in the shadows, its eyes fixed on her every move. The neighborhood held its breath. This part of town had seen better days. A recent surge in petty crime had residents on edge. Whispers of a more sinister presence, a shadow preying on the vulnerable, circulated in hushed tones. The streetlights, already fighting a losing battle against the encroaching darkness, seemed to dim even further as Sarah passed beneath them. Her cheerful humming, a beacon of naive innocence, echoed through the stillness, a stark contrast to the growing sense of dread that permeated the air. At the edge of the camera's view, a shape materialized from the darkness. It moved with an unnatural fluidity, hugging the shadows as if it were an extension of the night itself. The figure was tall and slender, its features obscured by the low light, and the hood pulled low over its head. Sarah, oblivious to the danger closing in, continued her leisurely pace. She paused briefly to adjust her earbuds, her back to the approaching figure. The creature in the darkness seemed to hesitate, its stillness more menacing than any sudden movement. The tranquility of the night shattered. The figure lunged, a blur of motion captured in a fleeting instant on the grainy security footage. Sarah's startled cry was cut short, replaced by the sickening thud of a struggle. The camera, positioned at a distance, offered only a fragmented glimpse of the horror unfolding beneath the flickering streetlight. The shadows danced violently, a chaotic ballet of predator and prey. The faint glow of Sarah's cell phone, knocked from her grasp, cast an eerie light on the scene, illuminating the raw terror etched on her face. Section 5. Terror Unleashed. The struggle was brief, brutally efficient. Less than 30 seconds passed between the figure's first step into the light and its retreat back into the shadows. It moved with a chilling familiarity, suggesting a practiced ease that sent shivers down the spines of even the most hardened detectives. Sarah lay crumpled on the sidewalk, her body unnaturally still. The faint glow of her cell phone illuminated a growing pool of darkness beneath her, a stark contrast to the vibrant life that had been so cruelly extinguished. Section 6. Silence Falls. A heavy silence descended upon the scene. The only sound was the gentle rustling of leaves in the night breeze and the distant hum of traffic. The park, once a place of tranquil escape, now felt cold and empty, forever marked by the violence that had transpired within its borders. The security camera, a silent witness to the tragedy, continued to record, its unblinking lens capturing the stark reality of the scene. The minutes ticked by, each one an agonizing reminder of the precious life lost and the unanswered questions that lingered in the air. Section 7. Sirens in the distance. 6 minutes. An eternity for the one whose life hung in the balance, a fleeting moment in the grand scheme of time. The first faint wail of sirens pierced the silence, a beacon of hope in the face of despair. The sound grew steadily louder, a symphony of urgency echoing through the deserted streets. The cavalry had arrived, but was it too late? The first responders, their faces etched with grim determination, raced towards the scene, their every step fueled by a desperate hope that they could somehow rewrite the tragic narrative unfolding before their eyes. Time seemed to stand still as paramedics swarmed around Sarah's lifeless body. Their frantic efforts to revive her were a testament to their unwavering dedication, a refusal to accept defeat even in the face of overwhelming odds. But some wounds run too deep, some tragedies cut too close to the bone. The flickering streetlight above cast long, dancing shadows as the paramedics worked, their faces illuminated by the harsh glare of the ambulance lights. The scene was a macabre tableau, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the ever-present potential for darkness to intrude upon the ordinary. The blue glow of the ambulance lights bathed the scene in an eerie light. It was a stark contrast to the usual calm of the night, transforming the familiar urban landscape into a tableau of tragedy and urgency. The rhythmic flashing of the lights seemed almost hypnotic, casting long, wavering shadows that danced across the buildings and streets. The air was thick with tension, a palpable sense of dread that seemed to seep into every corner of the scene. The once quiet night was now filled with the distant wail of sirens, the hum of engines, and the murmur of hushed conversations. It was as if the entire city held its breath, waiting for the next development in this unfolding drama. It reflected off the tear-streaked faces of the first responders, their expressions a mixture of exhaustion and grim acceptance. These were the faces of those who had seen too much, who had borne witness to the fragility of life time and time again. Each line and crease on their faces told a story of countless nights spent in the service of others, of lives saved and lives lost. The The weight of their experiences was evident in their weary eyes, eyes that had seen the best and worst of humanity. They moved with a practiced efficiency, their actions a testament to their training and dedication, yet there was an undeniable heaviness in their steps, a silent acknowledgement of the tragedy that had unfolded before them. The once vibrant young woman, full of life and promise, lay still beneath the sterile white sheet, her story tragically cut short. Sarah had dreams, aspirations, a future that now would never come to pass. Her presence, once a bright light in the lives of those who knew her, was now a void, an absence that would be felt deeply and painfully. The white sheet that covered her was a stark reminder of the finality of death, a symbol of the fragility of life. As her body was wheeled away, there was a collective sense of loss, a shared grief that permeated the air. The silence that followed was deafening, a poignant reminder of the life that had been so abruptly and senselessly taken. The weight of the tragedy pressed down on everyone present. It was a heavy, suffocating feeling, one that seemed to wrap itself around their hearts and minds. The first responders, the police officers, the detectives all felt it. It was a reminder of the darkness that lurked in the world, a darkness that they fought against every day. Yet in moments like these, it was hard not to feel overwhelmed by it. The sense of helplessness, of being unable to change the outcome, was a burden they all carried. They stood together, united in their grief and determination, a silent vow to seek justice for Sarah and to prevent such tragedies from happening again. The seasoned detectives, hardened by years of witnessing the worst of humanity, struggled to maintain their composure. They had seen countless crime scenes, each one leaving its mark on their souls. Yet, no amount of experience could ever fully prepare them for the sight of a young life cut short. They knew the importance of remaining professional, of focusing on the task at hand, but the emotional toll was undeniable. Each case was a reminder of the fragility of life, of the thin line between order and chaos. They worked methodically, gathering evidence, piecing together the puzzle, driven by a relentless pursuit of justice. But beneath their stoic exteriors, they were human, and the weight of their experiences was a heavy burden to bear. The park, once a place of joy and laughter, now stood as a silent testament to the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of their seemingly peaceful town. It was a place where children played, where families gathered, where memories were made. But now, it was a crime scene, a place marked by tragedy. The swings swayed gently in the breeze, a haunting reminder of the innocence that had been lost. The crime scene tape fluttered in the wind, a stark barrier between the past and the present. The park, once a symbol of community and togetherness, was now a place of sorrow and reflection. It was a reminder that even in the most peaceful of places, darkness could find a way in. The town would never be the same, forever changed by the events of that night. The blue glow of the ambulance lights would fade, but the memory of what had happened would linger, a shadow over the town's collective heart. At precisely 9:45 p.m., just 30 minutes after Sarah Williams had skipped into view on the grainy security footage, a hush fell over the crowd. The bustling urban street, usually alive with the sounds of chatter and traffic, fell eerily silent. The timestamp on the footage marked the moment when the vibrancy of life was replaced by an overwhelming sense of dread. People who had been going about their evening routines stopped in their tracks, their attention drawn to the unfolding tragedy. The air was thick with tension, as if the city itself was holding its breath. The paramedics, their faces etched with defeat, slowly backed away from her still form. Their movements were deliberate, almost reverent, as they acknowledged the gravity of the moment. Each step they took seemed to echo the finality of the situation. The crowd watched in stunned silence, their collective grief palpable. The paramedics, trained to save lives, were now faced with the harsh reality of their limitations. Their somber expressions spoke volumes, a silent testament to the fragility of life and the inevitability of death. The official time of death was recorded, a stark and final declaration that sent chills down the spines of everyone present. The act of writing it down seemed almost surreal, as if putting it on paper made it irrevocably true. The paramedic's hand trembled slightly as they noted the time, the weight of the moment pressing down on them. It was a moment that would be etched in the memories of all who witnessed it, a grim reminder of the fleeting nature of existence. The clock continued to tick, indifferent to the sorrow it marked. The life that had burned so brightly was extinguished, leaving behind a void that could never be filled. Sarah's presence had been a beacon of light, her energy and spirit touching everyone she met. Now, that light was gone, leaving only darkness in its wake. The empty street, once filled with her laughter and joy, now stood as a silent testament to her absence. A makeshift memorial began to form, candles and flowers placed with care by those who loved her. Each flickering flame and delicate petal, a symbol of the love and loss felt by the community. The security camera, its job done, continued to record, its unblinking lens capturing the raw grief and disbelief etched on the faces of the first responders. These were the men and women who had seen it all, yet nothing could have prepared them for this. Their emotions, usually kept in check by the demands of their profession, now spilled over. Tears glistened in their eyes, their faces contorted with sorrow. The camera, a silent witness to the unfolding drama, recorded every moment, preserving it for posterity. It was a stark reminder that even in a world filled with technology and progress, the human heart remains vulnerable to the pain of loss. The investigation into Sarah Williams' murder was swift and thorough. The police, detectives, and forensic team worked tirelessly, combing through every piece of evidence, every clue, and every possible lead. They meticulously documented the crime scene, hoping to find that one crucial piece of evidence that would point them in the right direction. The community watched with bated breath, hoping for justice for Sarah, a beloved member of their town. The grainy security footage, though chilling, provided little in the way of concrete leads. The images were blurry, the angles poor, and the lighting insufficient. Despite these challenges, the investigators pored over the footage, frame by frame, looking for any detail that might have been missed. They enhanced the video, adjusted the contrast, and even sought the help of experts in video analysis, but the elusive perpetrator remained just out of reach. The perpetrator, a phantom cloaked in shadow, seemed to vanish into thin air, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions, and a community grappling with the aftermath of a senseless tragedy. The shadowy figure seen in the footage was like a ghost, moving swiftly and silently through the night. The hooded suspect's identity remained a mystery, and the urban landscape seemed to swallow them whole, leaving no trace behind. The community was left to wonder who could have committed such a heinous act and why. Sarah's death served as a stark reminder that evil could lurk in the most unexpected places, and that even the most ordinary night could take a sinister turn. The once peaceful streets now felt ominous, and the sense of security that the residents had taken for granted was shattered. Parents held their children a little tighter, and neighbors looked at each other with suspicion. The tragedy had cast a long shadow over the town, and the fear of the unknown gripped the hearts of its residents. The park, once a symbol of community and tranquility, now stood as a somber memorial to a life cut short, forever etched in the annals of the town's history. Flowers, candles, and heartfelt messages adorned the spot where Sarah was last seen, a poignant reminder of the vibrant life that was so cruelly taken. The playground, once filled with the laughter of children, now stood empty, a stark contrast to the joy it once brought. The police tape fluttered in the breeze, a silent testament to the violence that had shattered the peace of this close-knit community. The town would never be the same, but they vowed to remember Sarah and to seek justice for her no matter how long it